Okay, let's move into what the Super Bowl means for Sam Darnold. I mean, this is an unbelievable story that he has had now. I believe he is the only quarterback to win a Super Bowl on his fifth team, or later only starting QB. That's rarefied air. That also kind of shows just how poorly his first part of his career started. But just curious on your thoughts about what this potentially means. Legacy maybe feels like too strong of a word for Sam Darnold, but what this means for him and his career and the story, and maybe even how we view young QBs.
Yeah, I mean, a quarterback is as good as the team around him. There's a reason the Jets never have a star quarterback. It's not, uh, they've had some misses for sure, but you got to blame the team too. I'm not everything I'm about to say something someone said before, but it just feels so good to watch Sam Darnold get away from such a toxic. It's like breaking up with a toxic ex. You get away from that relationship. You take some time to yourself, sit on the bench for a while, and then you come back. Truthfully, I think the Vikings should have kept him. I can't believe that they let him go. And you got to feel really bad if you're a Vikings fan right now watching him hoist that trophy while you're stuck with 9. God, fine.
I mean, okay, so if you're the Vikings right now and
Yeah,
you've just seen what Sam Darnold has done, obviously you're kicking yourself. But the one thing that you can do is make sure that you don't turn JJ McCarthy into the next Sam Darnold.
yeah,
So
yeah.
if you've got to slow roll this thing, slow roll it. If
Mm,
you've got to bench him at some point in his second year, like he's Bryce Young, you got to do it. You
yeah,
got to make sure that you be careful with your quarterback. He was also one of the younger QBs to come out of his specific draft. I believe when he was drafted, he was only 20. So,
mm,
or maybe he was 21, but that's still
yeah,
young because we're seeing a lot of guys, holdovers from the COVID era, getting that extra year coming in at 24, 25. But you got to make sure that
mm,
you take your time with him. So, if from the Vikings perspective, that's the only thing you can do right now to kind of
yeah,
weather that storm. But I completely agree. I mean, my goodness, in hindsight, it looks like one of the worst decisions in recent memory,
yeah, yeah,
truthfully. I'll take this. I'll take this route. I don't know if I've seen exactly a career path like Sam Darnold's ever
yeah,
before. And I like to hold a certain amount of NFL analysis based on history. What have we seen? No matter how the game changes, there's still certain things that kind of ring true. And that is you're thinking, especially in an offensive oriented league that we're in now, that a QB who's bounced around at the degree that Sam Darnold has done, no matter what he does in the regular season, those red flags are going to pop up at some point in a 3 or 4 game run. It's
yeah,
just inevitable, especially because the teams that you're playing are so good. That wasn't the case. So I decided to try to take a look and have any explanation. And I can only really gather a handful. And none of them are even really completely something that I could apply to Sam Darnold. I'm gonna throw these out here. I had Jim Plunkett. He had top pick, bus talk, new team, champion. That was back in the 70s.
yeah,
I mean, that was a different type of team, and then he was obviously on the Raiders teams who were really well run, especially in that point in the NFL history. That might be something. Drew Brees. I mean, do I even say he wasn't really considered a bust, but he had the injury. They got Philip Rivers, and he kind of got run out of San Diego. It was time for a new
yeah,
start.
yeah.
Paired
I
with
mean, you don't
Peyton.
call him a bust, but no one definitely thought he would have the career he would go on to have. When all that stuff was going on. So,
And also too, like one other team. It wasn't like he was
yeah,
a true backup. Like he had plenty of teams interested in him in free agency. And then there's even like other late bloomers in history, like Kurt Warner. I mean, I think you almost have to count like his arena football days when you tell his story too, because he wasn't in the NFL at the specific time. Who knows what he would have been if he was in the NFL a little earlier. Obviously, he was with the Packers, I believe, just for like an off season. He was just a camp arm. And
mm,
then Rich Gannon, but he didn't win the Super Bowl. So he was kind of around journeyman and then turned into an MVP guy under John Gruden. But like he didn't win the Super Bowl.
yeah,
So I take a look at those. I wanted to list them out because I thought it was interesting. Sam Darnold is in a class of his own. And we talked about JJ McCarthy. I mentioned Bryce Young, like him getting benched.
yeah.
If you're a team, we got the draft coming up. The combine's going to be very soon. If you're an NFL team, are you looking at your young QB and you're thinking maybe we ride this thing out 5 to 6 years instead of 2 or 3 because of what Sam Darnold is doing? Or are you still kind of on a QB by QB basis?
I mean, I think the Darnold experiment kind of like changes that idea a bit. But I don't know. I still feel like a lot of these NFL teams, they want quick results. They want fast turnarounds, especially with social media and stuff. I think fan opinion influences so much. If the fans don't back someone, it is so hard to like get that back. I mean, I don't want to keep throwing it back to the Broncos, but we have seen like 10 different quarterbacks that whole time. We never tried to stick it out for more than a season with one guy. Trevor Simeon, he lasted 1 year. Paxton Lynch lasted 2 games. Now granted, these are not first round picks. These are not good quarterbacks, but I feel like there is a rush to like find your guy and if he's not your guy within a year, people are chanting to cut his head off. I think though, moving forward, I think that the strategy is this. We'll go back to the Vikings. I think that JJ McCarthy, he deserves another year, maybe two. See if this bus can really get rolling, because he's not terrible by any means, But I think what you do is you get one of these good backups that are going to be coming out into free agency. You get like Malik Willis or you get Mac Jones, and you put them on the team and just say, hey, you keep working with the team, you keep developing, but this is the guy you have to beat. This like in between, bridge quarterback. This is the guy you have to beat. If you can't do that, you can't do it. Just to give him a little bit of pressure. You know what I'm saying? And if we spin that around, maybe that happens with Mac Jones. He's on his 4th, 5th team right now.
I'm actually all in low key on the Mac Jones comparison to Sam Darnold. I believe I've seen that in plenty different of places. It just makes sense because the way that his career was, if you feel like you've seen more good tape than you did with Sam Darnold, I think Sam Darnold's probably the exception to the rule. But I think if you are one of these teams, maybe you just kind of write it out and you just see what happens. And then you never like question whether or not you gave up on a guy too soon. But also for every Sam Darnold, there's maybe Justin Fields.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, you're like, what are we doing? But at the same time, if your organization isn't ready, like if your team isn't ready, then like it goes back to, hey, look, nobody's going to be good on the Jets.
Yeah.
Like if your team isn't ready, like your quarterback's going to get mauled, especially if he's a young QB. If you're on the Browns, I mean, there was probably a real reason why Baker Mayfield wasn't he had his problems in Cleveland, but like, and they were probably slightly justified in certain areas for maybe why they moved on, but that looks like a terrible decision now.
Yeah.
And so Baker Mayfield is a guy who could potentially be somebody down like that down the road. I mean, obviously it's coming from a Bucs fan, but I'm just saying, like his career kind of reminds me of that as well.
For sure. I do want to say though, really quick, got to put some respect on the Browns organization. They do have a Pro Bowl quarterback.
Oh yeah.
So pump the brakes a little bit.
You're right. I knew that you just could not help yourself with including Shadir Sanders in this. But Shadir Sanders is a player that maybe, don't write him off just yet. And that also goes to Geno Smith too. Like, not like not now with the Raiders.
Sure.
I'm out now, but but I'm talking about like when he came to Seattle, like they revived also Geno Smith too.
Yeah.
So it does look like it could be potentially what the Seahawks organization is able to do. Mm-hmm. Surround these players with really plenty of talent at the receiver position and kind of let loose and let things go. I think it's also really good for them, really good stock for them.
I mean, like you said, the team needs to be ready for their quarterback. I think if you're rebuilding, obviously you can't just get this rookie and put him behind a weak line. Like, or not give him any weapons. You have to be ready for your quarterback, which is why I think the Bengals need to completely restart. I think they need to get rid of Burrow. I think they need to get rid of Chase because they do not have a team. They have built that team so poorly. I think they just need to completely restart because Burrow, he's a great quarterback, but I don't see a path to the playoffs for the Bengals. I really don't. Not to make this about the Bengals. I just
Yeah,
started.
wait, no. Yeah, well, this would be a really interesting conversation. Would you rather start with a team that's ready but doesn't have a QB, and you just try to take as many swings as you possibly can, sign a veteran, take a guy in the second or third round, or would you rather be on the Bengals where you've already paid your QB and his top wide receiver, and you're trying to fill out the rest? I think you probably would rather not have cheap ownership like the Bengals anyway in the first
Yeah,
place. So I think that's how they probably figured out. I'd say Jamar Chase definitely gonna go before Joe Burrow, especially if
yeah.
next year ends up looking like this past season. But and also I think when you have a great QB, you can kind of like be a little cheap on those weapons. Not too cheap, but it does give you a little bit of leeway. I
Well,
think it's really
yeah, I mean,
interesting.
that's what they do with Mahomes. I mean, Mahomes never has really, like, anyone, no, like, certified star number 1 I mean, I guess he had Hill, you know,
Yeah, yeah, Tyreek Hill. I
yeah,
think that their thought process on it is definitely a little bit different than it was when it was Alex Smith, and they were like, "Oh my God, we don't have a receiver that's caught a touchdown in 2 years. We're gonna
yeah,
have to get somebody in the draft." I think it's a little different now, but they are still searching because you do need to still kind of bridge that gap. Not everybody's Tom Brady. A lot of
yeah,
QBs get frustrated over time, like Aaron Rodgers got
yeah.
super frustrated with the Packers and the way that they drafted for a while.